Hello everyone and welcome to Learn with Swasti. We will be doing paper 1 of English and the 4th January 2021 papers. Ideally, you should have the paper with you, so you can go to my Instagram and the paper will be there in the link. Alternately, you can also go to the CTET website and download the entire paper. We are doing the 4th January 2021 paper and this is language 1 English. Okay, so this is the paper. And ideally, why I want you to have the paper with you is so that you have read the passage and then you're following through. So I'm going to presume that you've read the passage and we will be just doing the answers. And I shall also be giving you explanations for the same. So the first one is a comprehension. Each drop of water, it represents about water. Let's go to question number 91. Children respond to the first rain of summer by. Do they give shouts of joy, floating paper boats, running and playing in the rain, or singing songs? So if we look out here, small children run out of their homes to romp naked in the rain. We know that they're running and playing in the rain. Next question, the tiny spring issuing from the rock is hidden by. So here it is, I parted a curtain of tender maiden hair fern. So maiden hair fern is the correct answer. To become a part of a river, a tiny drop has to. So if we look at the passage here, what happens to drop by drop, how it goes from becoming a stream, a spring, and finally becomes a part of the mightier ocean. We know that the drop has to merge its identity. The correct answer is merge its identity. Question number 94, which of the following word is most similar in meaning to the word pounding? So we have the word pounding out here, the pounding heart of man. So it is talking about the beating heart of man or the palpitating heart of man. Which one of the following word is most opposite in the to the word descend? So the opposite of descend is ascend. You don't really have to go back and see it. To descend is to come down, ascend is to go up. Which part of speech is the underlined word in the following sentence? Almost overnight. So almost here is an adverb, and overnight is also an adverb which talks about springing up. When did it spring up? Time or overnight. So almost overnight is also an adverb. Let's move on to question number 97. Which part of the following sentence contains an error? He knew that he will go back on his promise. So the answer to this is B. Will is future tense. So he knew, which means it's a past tense. So he knew that he would go back on his promise. Which of the following statement is not true? So there is renewal everywhere, new grass springs up. So this is a line from the passage. Yeah. There is renewal everywhere, new damp earth releases and new grass springs up. So we do not have the sweltering heat comes to an end. The earth does not look dashed before the onset of the mountain. So again, cracked, brown, dusty, tired. This is again directly from the passage. After baking in the sun, it looks cracked, it looks dusty, it looks tired. So what does it not look? Does not look. Please remember. So it does not look brown. We come to the next passage, which is a poem. And it's a poem about a tree. Question number 100 is the tree presses its mouth against sweet earth's flowing breast to what does it want from it? Gratitude, sustenance, inspiration, or love? So the answer here is sustenance, because if you see, it is the hungry mouth which is pressing itself against the sweet flowing breast. So it's like a child. The image is of a child going to the mother's breast for milk, and the hungry mouth. So sustenance as in food is being asked. Question number 101 is the tree prays to God. How does the tree pray to God? Again, this is given out here. Looks at God all day and lifts her leafy arms to pray. So it lifts her arms. Question 102, which of the following statement is not true? Tree welcomes the snow, allows birds, and lives closely with the rains. Let's see. All three have been mentioned here. Intimately lives with the rain. We have got this. Nest of robins, so plays with the birds. And snow, whose bosom snow has lain. So only this is not mentioned. The tree symbolizes strength and stability. So not true has been asked. Please remember, these are the areas where students end up losing marks. Name the figure of speech used in lines 3 and 4. Lines 3 and 4 is this. Hungry mouth and earth's flowing breast. So this is personification. When a non-human is given human qualities, we have personification. Again, another figure of speech is poems are made by fools like me. Fools like me, this would be a simile. The word mouth in line 3 refers to dash of the tree. So again, it's the same line they're talking about. The hungry mouth is pressed. So when we're talking about the mouth, we're looking at the roots of the trees because it is the roots which are pressing into the earth's breast. So we have reached question 105. So that's the end of comprehension. From question 106, we move on to pedagogy. A language teacher firstly asks students to introduce themselves and then to each other. Then she asks them to introduce their friends to each other. What does this activity help them in? So the answer is BICS, which is your basic interpersonal communication skills. So introducing yourself, all these are basic interpersonal communication skills. CALP, on the other hand, is cognitive academic learning proficiency. So you're doing academic learning. There's nothing like PPPP. And ELT is a broad term, English language teaching. So the correct answer is 1, BICS. Literature should be included in language classrooms because. So why should we have language literature in the language classrooms? So does it give, do we want them to be budding writers? No. Grammatical forms and structures, that should not be our primary aim. Let's see if there are better options. Develops moral values. We really never develop moral values through reading. And it exposes them to different genres, cultures, and social issues. So this would be the best answer as to why literature should be introduced in the classroom. A teacher makes her learners respond to her actions and speech only by bodily movements. So we've seen many times, especially in the lower classes, the teacher says, do this, do that. For example, stand up, sit down, open the book, close the book, and you have a whole class, or even when you're learning a foreign language, this is a very good strategy. And this is called the total physical response. So it's called the TPR method. Remember this, TPR. Task-based language learning is when you give the students a task. For example, you ask them to, say, come up with a newsletter or something. So that would be a task-based. Communicative approach is giving them situations. It's an approach to teaching where you give them real-life situations. And playway method is when you play and teach something. Okay, so the correct answer for question number 108 is total physical response. Question 109. In a language class, students are memorizing the dialogues. So let's see what they are doing. They're memorizing, drill and practice. Teacher is correcting their pronunciation immediately, and they're practicing in chorus. So this is an audiolingual method. Audiolingual method uses a lot of drill and practicing, hearing something, then repeating it in chorus, and then putting it in strategy. Direct method, natural method is where you are basically focusing on the speaking skills, but directly and naturally. And CLT method is basically communicative language teaching. It's a broad term. It's not talking about a method per se. Question 110. The oral errors of the student can be best corrected. So Ignore the error, no, and ask other students to help. Peer tutoring is must. So when such lines are there, these are usually wrong options. So you have two, it corrects the error directly after the student has made an error, or should you point it out in general and let the student correct himself first? So this is the best option, better option. When you know what error your students are making, if they are, we generally as teachers will know what other errors they will make. So do it generally first. Let the student self-correct, because that is the best kind of learning. If the student still doesn't correct himself or herself, take that person out, or privately, you can put it in their notebooks. You can correct them. Don't do it in front of their peers or friends. 111, as a pair activity, the teacher gives the children almost the same picture, asks them to find the difference between the two students and ask them to question each other how the two pictures are different. So they are looking at pictures which are almost similar, and then they can question each other and find out what is different in my picture and your picture. So is this a grammar activity? No. Is this a close-based activity? No. Close-based activity is a written activity, and crossword is also written. So this is a speaking activity, because the teacher wants the students to talk to each other, to ask questions, and to be able to decipher what is said. Question 112. A student of class 4 is having some problems in writing. She may be having dysgraphia. So in CTET, please take these as the answer, although this is very simplistic. In your class, please don't think that if a student is having writing, it is dysgraphic. But, well, as per the syllabus of the CTET, this is the best answer. 113, it specifies the rules which govern the arrangement of words and phrases. So this is your syntax. Syntax talks about rules of grammar, whereas semantic talks about meaning making. So anytime you have a question on meaning making, that will be on semantics, and this is syntax. 114, a teacher of class 6 has labeled the classroom objects such as blackboard, door, window with different languages. So here the classroom as a whole, what does it become? It is a rich resource for promoting multilingualism. So through using ordinary everyday things, the teacher is promoting multilingualism. Focusing on 3 language formulas, just see this is wrong. We are not focusing on 3 because she has question that exactly mentions 4, etc. also 5. Language confusion, no. And grammar translation method is not being used out here. So it is a rich resource for promoting multilingualism. 115, the assessment process not only assesses students' learning, but also assesses the teacher's teaching process. That is correct. When we assess, an ideal assessment process should assess both. The language which is learned from the environment without any explicit teaching is our first language, home language, our mother tongue. A teacher is facing the problem of students' poor spellings. Okay. She listed the probable causes for it and then decided to frame and do some steps to overcome it. So this is action research. She's not solving the problem. This is a research which she's doing because she's trying to find the causes, probable causes for it. And this is something all teachers would have done in B.Ed. So this is action research. What do reading picture books mean? So let's see, exposing learners to different styles of drawing. No, this will be wrong. Help learners to draw neat. No. And children love pictures and it will be a fun loving class. So yes, it would be, but that's not the correct reason. We are helping learners to understand and analyze the pictures. Why is the king smiling, or is the person sad? So when you're doing such things, you're doing a reading picture book. Before starting a new chapter from a textbook, a teacher should first focus on. So what is the first thing that a teacher focuses on? So we should background setting and story of the history. Let's see if there's a better option. grammatical structures, no. Work profile of the poet. So we should do this. It's not that we should not do this, but what is the first thing that you should do? You should relate the story with the previous experiences of the learner. So relating what you are learning or what the child is learning with their real life situations is the first thing that you should focus on, and then go back to doing everything else as a language teacher or even a subject teacher. The last question, question 120, teachers ask learners to read aloud in the English class. So there's loud reading happening. What will this reading do? It will enable learners to develop reading skills with understanding. Okay. This seems correct. And enable learners to read with correct pronunciation while using punctuation marks. So this would be the better option. Fast reader we don't want, and completion of syllabus is not there. So develop reading skills with understanding, yes, is broad, but correct pronunciation and punctuation marks would be the focus of loud reading. So we come to the end of analyzing paper 1. As I said before, these papers are available on my Instagram handle, Learn with Swasti, and it'll be there on the link. You also get the PDF of the answer if you want. And also it is there in CTET. So for success in CTET, follow me.